because there's a certain thing I like about Aaron Judge, and it's a quiet confidence. And Tennessee, their football players are anything but quietly confident, and they were pretty outspoken in a good way, I think. But I want your take, Amanda, as they met with the media yesterday. So uh, you had a comment after the Pitt game, and that was Cedric Tillman saying big time players make big time plays in big situations. And if taken out of context, that sounds in print or looks in print very cocky. However, when you watch the video, and I included in a story on offthehooksports.com, he goes, not really. Okay, so let's go. And so he was clearly joking. However, Jalen Hyatt said yesterday that he expects Tennessee to have the best offense in the nation. He said that he thinks Tennessee has the best group of receivers in the SEC. Amanda, your take. Too cocky or about right?
You never want to put that bullet on your back if you're a player. You never want somebody to come out and prove you wrong. And since you've done that, you're asking for that to happen. Quiet confidence is much better than loud arrogance at any time in any sport. So I just, whether or not he's right, I mean, he could be right, and he might be right. I mean, I'm looking at other, receiving cores, and Tennessee's right up there with them. But you don't want to call attention to that. You don't want to give players and teams a reason to go after that aspect of your game, especially if it's the best one.
Yes. Um, I didn't have a problem with the comment on Saturday when I watched the video. If I'd have read it, I might have thought it was a little bit different. I didn't have a problem with what Jalen Hyatt said yesterday. Now, that leads me to it looks like Tennessee's receiver rotation is starting to shrink a little bit. You have, of course, Cedric Tillman. He's going to be the alpha dog, 15 catches, 230 yards, and a touchdown. And then Brew McCoy, credit to Tennessee's football staff with all the offseason mess of getting him ready. He has 7 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown in 2 games. Then you got Jalen Hyatt, who we mentioned, kind of sandwiched in the middle. Hyatt has 13 pass receptions for 101 yards and a touchdown. All of them have a touchdown. So he was targeted 13 times against Pitt. 13 times. I think there's a little bit of separation there. Jimmy Holiday is UT's fourth leading receiver with 4 catches for 62 yards. So I think you're seeing that separation. I think if something were to happen to one of those top three, that Tennessee has some depth, but I think those three are probably the most talented, and you're going to continue to see that unfold as the season goes on. Now, defensively, the Vols had 4 sacks. We talked a lot about that, but it was more than just that. The pressure was pretty immense. 16 hurries, 9 sacks, and 4 tackles for a loss this season. And when I look at Tennessee and what they did on Saturday against Pitt, it was a lot about tip passes. It was a lot about what Tennessee was able to do, not just getting to the quarterback, but disrupting that offense Pitt with their defensive front. Now, the key is to do it with just your front four and not have to bring pressure. I don't know if that's going to happen, but we shall see. And uh, Amanda, Akron is an opportunity to get better. It's also an opportunity for some of those defensive backs that are out there that may ascend the depth chart because some guys in front of them aren't great. It's an opportunity for other receivers to make sure they're a part. I think of Squirrel White perhaps as a guy that could potentially have a decent game against Akron, and then Tennessee's coaches say, hey, he needs to be a part of that 3-man rotation. It is an opportunity for those second tier guys. Now, nobody is going to go from third tier, Amanda, to suddenly, hey, we're going to roll out a new starter against Florida. But it is an opportunity to work yourself in the rotation. And if you don't do it by Akron, you could get lost in the shuffle because things get pretty heavy in just about 10 days.
Yeah, it's an opportunity for coaches to look at the weaknesses of the past 2 weeks and to really focus on those. And then once you focus on the weaknesses, you can look and put players in situations so that you can determine where their skill set is and where they're going to be moving forward. Are they the answer that you need? I don't think necessarily after 2 games you're set on who you're bringing out there. I think someone could come out and make a big impact, and then you could, turn around and say, okay, well, this guy seems to be getting it done in the games versus, the way he was playing in practice. So to me, the Akron game is a practice against a very, 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 I don't technically unworthy opponent, but someone you shouldn't struggle with. And it's a way for players to come out and show how they can impact the game and how they can impact the team going forward.
Totally, totally agree. Totally agree with that. But if you don't establish yourself by Saturday as a guy that Tennessee can turn to, don't expect to be in the Florida game, and don't even expect to work your way into the shuffle barring injury later in the year. It just happens time and time again. You can get lost in the shuffle.